Hi, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of Influencer Roundtable, where we chat with the influencer marketing industry's most prolific creators and talented marketers. I'm really excited to be joined by 3 Drinkstagrammers again today. And I'm going to let them go around and introduce themselves, but really quickly, I'm Regan, and I'm the founder of Coastline Creatives, and we are a talent management agency bringing together incredible creators like you every day. So Fiona, we'll start with you. Just your name, your handle, and where you're from.
Okay, sounds good. Hi guys, it's Fiona from Cocktails with Me NYC, and I'm based in Jersey.
I'm Stephanie. My Instagram handle is Bevs by Beverly, and I'm from Miami, Florida.
I'm James. I'm here representing Beautiful Booze, and I'm based out of New York.
Perfect. Let's dive right into it. I am so excited to chat with you today. I think the cocktail industry and the Drinkstagrammer industry in particular is just an ever-changing landscape, so we have a lot to cover today. I think the first thing that I want to start with is what spirits are you all seeing pop up more right now? And they can be ones that you're excited about or ones that you're maybe not so excited about. But I'm curious to see what you're seeing happening out in the sphere.
Okay. Do we want to go in order? Or?
Whatever you want to do.
I think for me, I was never a huge fan of mezcal until 6 months ago.
You're right.
And now that I'm getting more into it, I'm seeing more cocktails being made with it. And maybe that's just because I didn't really like it before, so I wasn't paying attention. But I feel like it's becoming more popular, in cocktail bars and restaurants. They're just making more mezcal cocktails, and I'm really enjoying them because now that I'm getting into
more
it.
of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Compared to even a year ago.
Would you say that's limited to are you getting more into mezcal, like the agave category, like Bacanora, Raicilla, and stuff like that? Or is that kind of what you're seeing, or is it mezcal is kind of dominating for sure?
Yeah, and especially I feel like there was so many tequila cocktails, but now that mezcal is getting more popular.
Yeah.
But I would say tequila is still really popular.
It is. Oh, for
totally.
sure.
I would say tequila has gotten even more popular, but flavored tequila.
I know for sure there's a lot of mezcals becoming more affordable and approachable. There's a lot of mezcal brands that are making bartender mezcals, so more cocktail friendly mezcals at a lower price point, so that they're able to, you're seeing them more on menus for that reason.
For sure.
For everybody listening, when you say bartender mezcals, is it a flavor profile that's more approachable, or is it a purchasing the product more approachable?
Yeah. I would say it's more of the purchase power. I know there's a few brands that have deliberately made a bartender specific Espadín, which is your most basic light smoke mezcal. It's easier to produce, it's faster to produce, it's faster to recuperate the crops and everything. So there's brands that are going out there, they're doing cheaper packaging. Not cheap, but they're not putting elegant bottles out there that you can't fit in the well. There's brands that are creating bottles and spirits specifically for bars to put in speed wells. So it's cheaper and easier to bartenders to grab and mix with drinks.
And what do you think that impact has on the home bartender, somebody who maybe experiences mezcal out at a restaurant a bit more readily now? Do you think as creators who maybe largely talk to people who like to make cocktails in their own home, do you think they're purchasing mezcal more now as well? Or is it just something that's happening more on the industry side?
Personally, I think home consumers are doing it as well. Again, the affordability has come into it. Mezcal, when it kicked off, was $80 for a good bottle.
Yeah.
Now you can see a $45 to $50 bottle that's really nice. Yeah. And when you're seeing it more in bars as well and seeing digital influencers and people using it, you're more likely to purchase that bottle at the risk of saying, I don't know if I like mezcal, but it's $45.
Right.
If it was $70, you're I'm not spending that money on something that I might sip and be no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And Steph, you're saying that you're incorporating it more. What's kind of the entry level way that you really said, no, this is a spirit that I can kind of hang around with?
So I'm my go-to cocktail always is a skinny, spicy margarita. So the first time I ever really tried it and made it at home, I just made a simple margarita with it. And I was okay, this is actually good. I could drink this. So now, I'm adding more flavors, passion fruit, and just really, getting in there with it.
And I think a lot of people just talking about it because I think margaritas, like tequila, is always super popular, and
Yeah.
people will always talk about it. And there's like this like group who like love margaritas, and there's this group that is like it's like so overrated, but they would be like, oh, I prefer mezcal more because it's like smoky, has more
Yeah.
It's just
personality.
different. It's a
A
new
little more
flavor.
complexity
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
It's, I mean, you do think about like the picante chatter at Soho House and like the rise of tequila-based
Yeah.
cocktails. So I think it's a natural next step. We're going to come back to what other spirits that you're seeing kind of rise to the top, so to speak. But I do want to go on a quick tequila segue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot
happy
of
to.
celebrity tequilas that we're seeing pop up in
sure.
liquor stores. Actually, if you go into a liquor store, you're more likely to see more celebrity-owned tequila than non. And so, what are your thoughts, Fiona? I'm interested. Is that like a trend that is concerning to you, or is it something that you're kind of just curious and interested to see if anybody does it right from the celebrity side?
You got totally singled out.
Wow. What do you mean by concerning?
Well, I
As in
think
like
that
poor quality or like misrepresent it?
I think
Or-
there's a variety
All of
of
the
things that
above.
we can consider to be concerning. Just the appropriation component, the quality component.
For sure.
And
Quality.
just with influencers kind of being always under the gun on how they're allowed to talk about alcohol, but celebrities end up getting a pass. Like, I think there's a lot of different layers to celebrity tequila that we can unpack here. Is there anything that stands out to you in that grouping? And I know there's a hesitation here at this table, right? Because
Oh, I'm happy to.
we've probably
throw it out
all
there.
worked with celebrity tequila brands. I know we
Yeah,
have creators
most
that work
definitely.
with
We have, yeah.
that work with Lobos, who that is a brand that is funded by LeBron James.
Yeah.
And these are ones where they're not even that forward about it
Yeah.
versus others lean into it a little bit more. So I know that there's this like apprehension that we're all dealing with at the moment, but I think this is a forum that we're all having these conversations privately. It's okay to
I think once again, it still depends on how you present it in a way. So I think like for my platform, I do a lot of more about like inspirational, like trying new things. I don't always describe like if this is good quality, bad quality, but more so like in a very curious attitude, something like that. Because I do remember there was a brand that specifically asked me, please work with like 818 tequila and like tag them and something like that, create that association. But like in that case, I didn't really like talk if this is a good tequila or not, but just more so creating the exposure and the connection with that brand. So I think it depends. I think it's you have to be careful and honest because at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to you. Like if you like share something that is not good, and then your followers who trust your taste,
right. But it's a venue to share tequila-based cocktails that is helping pay the rent at the same time to initiate some curiosity about making tequila-based cocktails at home.
It's marketing.
Yeah.
And that's
sure.
a value that you want to be able to provide to your followers.
absolutely, yes.
I think it's
Steph-
definitely. Yeah, you're right.
Steph, I feel like you have
Okay.
something you'd like to say.
No, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't necessarily hate on it. Like I know there's so many like small family-owned tequilas, and they're great, and there's so many like amazing tequilas out there. But it's hard for me to like hate on it because like if I'm at a bar and they have Casamigos, I'm probably going to order the Casamigos, you know?
Are you ordering that because you like Casamigos or because
I
it's?
do like it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do like it.
They've
I'm
done
not
their
gonna hate
marketing,
on
but they
it.
put a good
Yeah.
product out there.
So
in the same
for
space.
me, and it is kind of like a little bit obnoxious at this point that there's so many celebrity tequilas. Like, come on, like enough is enough.
Do a gin. We want more London
there's
dry
at least
gin.
something else,
right?
but like,
Reynolds owned that. Nobody else can do gin.
yeah, I mean, unless it's like really terrible. I like hate to say it, but like if a brand wants to pay me to like make a cocktail with it,
Yeah.
it's not like I'm drinking it straight. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm making like a really good cocktail and I can balance it out and it's good, I'm probably going to use it.
So let's say it's like a celebrity-owned añejo, and it's meant to be a sipping tequila. And is that a conversation where you say, I really got to try it before we even look at scoping out a project?
I do. I do like to try my products before, because I'm not going to just like throw out
Every
like,
project.
I have a pretty like decent sized following. I'm not just going to like post anything for money. I'm not like that. But like, of course I'm going to want to try it. And if it is good, then, I'll work with it.
Yep. James.
I am of a different opinion, but similar. I think there are brands that have come out and made an elaborate bottle. And these are not just celebrity brands, but other brands as well. They spend so much money on packaging and marketing that you're paying $10 more per bottle for the same product as a niche brand that's just doing like, here's a nice bottle and an amazing product. You should try it. Tapatio, for instance, is one of the more affordable, one of my most favorite tequilas, but they're super low key. You'd never see them doing a lot of marketing. I think they're bigger in Europe than the US, but their product's phenomenal. Casca Win is the same. It's old school. They do like ancestral tequila, but the quality is higher for a lower price point than a lot of other brands, simply because they're not putting all that money into marketing. I think they have like the historical relevance on the shelf. So they already have the brand recognition where they're not spending so much money on marketing. And I'm talking about marketing because that's what I find celebrity tequila to be. It's rare that, although marketing would suggest otherwise, it's rare that a celebrity would like travel down to, Oaxaca for mezcal, or, tequila for tequila, Jalisco, wherever they go. It's rare that they're actually going down there, finding a small palenque or distillery and being like, hey guys, I love what you're doing. I want to bottle it and I want to sell it. It's usually somebody's putting together a package already, and they go to somebody and they're like, you're going to be our spokesperson. We'll give you a percentage. All you have to do is tell the people you love our tequila. Whether you like it or not, we don't care.
Yeah.
And I feel like that the expense of having the celebrity tied to it and the marketing component of it drives up the price of an average tequila to a premium tequila. So you're paying more for what you're getting.
Right.
Not always the case. There are some celebrities out there that do genuinely love the product, are doing what they do. I can't. but I'm not writing them off. I'm saying that I'm not saying that they're all doing that. I'm just saying it's not, I can't write it off and say they're not. I don't know who's doing what. But my experience from the ones that I do know that I won't name are people that were bought in after the fact, after the product already had a name, before they marketed it, and they said, this is your tequila. Here's the story of how you found the distillery and how much you loved the product and you wanted to share it with the world. And all of a sudden they were just like, this story was amazing. And it's like, I have better stories about my experiences in tequila that are true, but the marketing aspect just pays the bills. And it is consumerism. It is for the consumer. Bartenders aren't sold as much on the celebrity stuff because they actually have to put their name to a drink. They actually have to sell it. And when a person comes into the bar and says, hey, I want like a good tequila, if they give you a shit tequila, you're not getting tipped so well. But if you give them a quality tequila, they're going to be like, that's great. You know what you're doing. So I feel like it's more towards the consumers and the marketing is more towards the home consumer. So there's a balance to it all. I don't hate on it. It's marketing. If marketing didn't exist, my job doesn't exist.
Right.
So it's the same thing. People say to Beautiful Booze all the time, and I'm sure you're like, oh, you just posted about this product because you're getting paid to do it. It's like, shit. Like, how do you expect me to?
Yeah.
You like my content? I can't do this for free.
Right.
I need to make money. And this is a good product. So why wouldn't I use it and tell you it's a good product to use?
Both can be true, right? Celebrity endorsements are never going to go away, and our version of marketing booze and working with brands is also never going to go away. So back to the conversation of, obviously, tequila is popping off. Tequila will continue to rise. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. But I have seen, same to you, is this more approachability to mezcal. Are there any other spirits or aperitifs or digestifs that you're seeing become more commonplace, readily accepted, included in more cocktails?
Myself, I think the big trend that I'm seeing that I'm all for is Japanese products. Shoshu, sake, different kind of, they have a lot of different distillates, and they're also doing gins and stuff beautifully. But for me, like, I love Shoshu. For me, it's just a product that's super simple, but also I have a friend that introduced me to sake a few years back, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. It's just like, beautifully balanced. It always has like beautiful notes, a little bit of umami,
There's a lot of complexity to sake.
It's amazing. And
people who care about sake are looking at it like wine. There's
100%. Yeah.
the way that they taste
I sip it in
sake.
a nice glass, 100%.
Yeah.
But the mixability is phenomenal.
And Fiona, I know you just spent quite a bit of time in Asia. Do you feel like the trends there with specifically more Asian created spirits are similar, or are we seeing more tequila over there still?
So surprisingly, I think tequila is a very U.S. thing. I mean, there are still tequilas there too, but I would say it's more gin focused. There are a lot of like really famous like gin bars. I think especially in like Asia, I think Singapore, like the
definitely.
number one. Atlas is like the 50 like number one of the 50 best bars of the world. It's a gin bar. Like the whole bar has like a huge menu of gins. And I think kind of just more suitable to the palate. But I think the way they do it, they use a lot more like different infusions of like herbs and different flavors and like local ingredients.
Do you see that coming over to North America? I know that's something that I think you probably draw inspiration from.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see more because I think even like bubble tea as an example. I think even like coffee drinks and like boozy coffee, boozy bubble. Like, bubble tea has gotten so mainstream now, but it's a very Asian drink, and a lot of people turn it into like alcoholic, like boozy bubble tea. Like boozy coffee.
Well,
and
one of the top trending bars in the world right now is Katana Kitten in New York.
Oh yeah, it is.
They're doing a low-key version of a great cocktail bar, which is a very Japanese thing. It's simplicity at its best, and they're nailing it. But I think the Asian influence, and for everybody, is kind of like something different, especially for the U.S. market. It's something new and fun and different. That's kind of more modern.
I think the flavors, the liqueur, and the different infusions and syrups has gotten popular too. I think but that also kind of started with like TikTok and Instagram too, because I think a lot of people do kind of all kinds of like crazy like infusions and like fruits and make it more approachable. Because I think too like the most basic like person who does not like alcohol, they'd be like, oh, that's like so bitter, it's like not good. But then there's like different obviously there's like the Negroni and old-fashioned people. But then there's also like the people who like love like the fruity drinks and something that's like more approachable and friendly.
Well, speaking of approachability, Steph, I think we can't argue with the fact that you have approachability as probably one of your core values in what you create. Is that intentional?
That was intentional. Like for me, I'm very simple. And when I'm at home, I just want to make a simple, easy cocktail. And I feel like a lot of people who aren't in this industry and aren't really comfortable making drinks, when they see just something that they're like, oh, wow, I can make that. That's easy. Or I have all these ingredients in my kitchen already. I'm just going to make this. So that's kind of the vibe I was going for.
Yeah.
And do you think that you can attribute some of your growth and success to that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Any other spirits? I'm very on board with kind of definitely the sake influence. I'm seeing a lot more sake in cocktails. But any other things that we should keep our eye on or hoard for ourselves before the shelves get bare at the liquor store?
Ooh.
Like a rise.
Sorry?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Just trying to like brainstorm.
It's like on the spot, nothing's popping. But like, if I was just chatting with friends, I'd be like, like, what about this? I just tried that the other day. It's like a new thing.
Guys, this is a low. We can all take a sip, but this is a low stress environment. We can come back to it too.
Yeah, let's come back.
I think there's also like new countries doing old things. Well, not new countries. That's the wrong way to put it. But like in the last 5 years, you've seen like amazing whiskey coming out of Taipei or Thailand in general. Amazing whiskey out of Australia. 7 years ago, the best gin in the world was Australian, which Australia was never on the map. I love representing it.
Yeah.
But no, but it's products that people don't see. You think of whiskey, you think of Scotland, Ireland, and America. Like nobody else really. Japan, obviously, phenomenal. But outside of that, nobody was like, oh yeah, this is an amazing whiskey. And I think it comes down to also distribution and all of that as well. Marketing, digital marketing, people getting more visibility for these products that may have existed forever, but they didn't have the money to import into the US and distribute and market and everything. So they're able to kind of, you don't have to place an ad in the New York Times anymore. You've got us,
I think let's put our like influencer caps on for a second. I have noticed over the last few years that more regions are now reaching out to creators to not just feature a single brand, but to feature a whole product or a whole spirit. Cognac is a really good example. I think that's a region that's really leaned into influencer marketing more than others. But I also think that tourism boards are now starting to pair up with some of these other agencies that are led mostly by spirits brands and trying to engage creators like yourself to not necessarily drive tourism, but just maybe encourage education on what it is that you're actually consuming when you consume cognac. Or not a lot of people know. I'd say the average consumer doesn't know that cognac is a region in France. They just think it's a thing. And so is that something that you're excited about as creators, to potentially have that ability to travel and show off a destination or a region?
For sure.
That's my forte.
Absolutely.
That's what we do.
This is like Natalie, the other half of Beautiful Booze, is actually in Cognac currently.
Today.
Right in this moment, she is in France. Talk to me about, you've been over to Cognac many, many times, and you've also been to other regions. Do you find that that's a successful way to, because I know a lot of what you do is just straight content creation for brands. But also you have your platform as well. So what's the marriage of those two things as it pertains to working with regions?
So I think the big thing was, like, prior to 2020, we didn't have a home for 5 years. We just traveled on our own dime. People thought the brands were paying for us to just gallivant around the world and do all these amazing things, but we actually invested 100% of our income back into the experiences of traveling the world and visiting different destinations. And through that, what we would do is, when we're at a destination, we could reach out to local people and be like, you don't have to pay for like one of the biggest accounts in the US to come to you. We're here, show us what you got. We were interested. We weren't waiting for people to say, hey, we've got this big budget project. We were like, we're interested in this region. We just go there. And once we were there, we're like, hey, we're here. What can we do with you? And it was like, that kind of put us into a different area from where, if you follow Beautiful Booze, like Beautiful Booze has been going since 2013, I want to say. Natalie, 2012, Natalie just hit her decade, I believe. But so from there, she's OG. She is
OG.
There were two of them at the beginning when it like kind of kicked off, and her and Thirsty with Tara, they kind of like, they were on calls for like 3 hours a day being like, this is a great hobby, but what the fuck are we doing? Like they had conversations in and out. And when I started with Natalie, I kind of came on as a business perspective and then helped her out with the content creation. And now I've taken over the content creation. She does the business development, she's the face of the account, and all the recipes, all the design. We have a good mix. It's her and I. It's not a big team. It's her and I, but we both kind of handle a bit of this, bit of that. But so coming back to that was like, we were traveling, we were already doing it. So we were reaching out to destinations, and through that, we got seen and got pulled apart from just being cocktail influencers, where Natalie was a home bartender mixing very approachable drinks. And now what we do is we do that. That would be 30% of our work. 20% of our work is probably like bars. So we do a whole bar series around the world where we go and do videos in different bars where we're visiting destinations. So we kind of hit that back and forth. And then the rest of it is destinations. So it's just showing like France in general. Natalie's been in Paris for 3 days before she goes to Cognac. She hasn't been like vacationing. She's doing content. When we travel, we stay in cheap places and we spend our money on experiences, good food, good drinks, and just kind of wandering around. We don't trade for food and drink.
Right.
We just pay for it and create content. So there's no restriction on what we're going to do, and no like stress on like, if it doesn't work out and you go and get a drink and you're like, we don't want to showcase that to our audience. Right. We don't want to be like, oh, this amazing bar in Paris. And we're like, we don't love that. So we do it ourselves on our own dime. And I think the big part, coming back to Cognac being like one of the big people really investing in the US market in particular, is because Cognac as a kind of category has been growing and seeing the US market diversify into cocktails ahead of most other people. The US market consumes more of every product than anything, except for, I think, Baijiu, because China just dominates that. They don't even bother exporting. They can't make enough. They're starting to. It's getting really great. But cognac itself, their marketing to the US market has been so cocktail focused because they already have the other audiences. They already have the marketing they've been doing for the last 30 years. They've locked it in, they've got it done. Now they're seeing the trends of cocktails and they're pushing that more and more. So they've modernized their approach to their marketing and doing a great job with it. Cognac's soaring.
Do you think there are other regions that are potentially going to catch on or that are already catching on?
I'm not really sure. I don't know.
So going back to what you were saying about like Japan and stuff, I think shochu. So I'm actually collaborating with them in New York.
In Japan or?
No, in New York. Because they're trying to introduce more like, but it's more so like exposure. They don't even have like a cocktails Instagram, but they just want us to like talk about, I think like Jetco and something like that.
Yeah.
But that is through my food Instagram. Instead of my cocktails one.
Yep.
Because I think they're just introducing more like Japanese culture, but then like within the Japanese food sector, there's obviously like the drinks, like like shochu is one, and Japanese whiskey is really big too, and even like collaborating with like a lot of New York City bars where they would showcase their like liquor.
Yep.
So I think that's like one region, and I can even see it being more global too, a more global experience, and
totally
stuff like that.
Utilizing social media is such a easy and affordable way for brands to get global exposure. Even though we're a U.S. company, we're U.S. based, we're U.S. creatives, we're here, but our audience is global. You're not limited to New York. When you say I'm a creator in New York, I'm not stuck in New York. My audience is global. One of our bigger, we have like, as far as countries go, we have Australia, New Zealand. Actually, South Africa is huge for us. They're a huge market. But yeah, we have a global, all of us. Yeah. It's a global audience. Social media is not regionally exclusive, which I think is a great way to market. A newspaper, all these old school marketing techniques that are amazing. We've all used them our whole lives. I still have magazine subscriptions, but they're limited to distribution. Our distribution is literally every human being in the world can see what we do.
I think the most global platform is probably TikTok as of now. And you, I think, can credit a lot of your growth to TikTok. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, I first discovered you on TikTok, and your account is large on TikTok. Am I correct?
It is. I started on TikTok. It took me like 10 months to get on Instagram. But yeah, I think even when I wasn't posting on Instagram, I still had my Instagram account. And I would start, like, people would start following my Instagram. I didn't even post anything. I mean, not that many people, but I'm like, okay, people automatically would just like go and follow me on there. But yeah, I mean, but TikTok, I think, has changed. It's changed. It's not what it used to be, at least for me. And I don't know if that's because there are more people on the platform. They're very strict about like alcohol and that kind of thing. So I don't know if like we're being shadow banned. I don't know what's going on there. So I was totally focused on TikTok in the beginning, but now my focus is Instagram for sure.
And is that, sorry, follow-up question. Is the focus on Instagram because that's where some of the dollars or most of the dollars are coming from, because brands are apprehensive to pay for any TikTok coverage?
Yeah, and like I could post the same video on both platforms at the same time. And even though I have double the amount of followers on TikTok, my views are like nothing. And I automatically get more views and more likes and all that on Instagram. So I just feel like
Instagram's more stable.
It's stable.
I feel like there's a quality is the wrong word, but there's two totally different audiences. People who scroll through Instagram and TikTok, like I don't switch between. I'm an Instagram guy, but it comes down to, for us, what we've noticed is, if we are doing both, we have to create two different styles of content for the same thing. Because Instagram's more polished, it's more professional, and that's bad, because I know TikTok people are going to be like, I work 10 hours a day doing this, like I'm not talking bad about it, but for us, TikTok, when we do more casual like phone content where we're just like, here's a fun cafe in Paris, it's like, that will go viral on TikTok. Whereas on Instagram, when I have to shoot stuff professionally with all my equipment, it takes a lot more time. And the same video that we put that on TikTok, we don't have the same audience, so it's not a direct comparison, but it just doesn't grab. You know, people see the polished content from me, and this is personal opinion.
Right.
Is Instagram for me is polished versus the casual TikTok experience.
Yeah.
Everyone's chasing that next viral video.
Okay, so I think instead of using the word polish, I would say also more like, I think Instagram wants predictability. Instagram wants predictability. If you're always like polished, they want continuous polished content. But if Instagram has more like carefree, like friendly content, they keep wanting the friendly content. So if you like all of a sudden you're like so friendly, approachable, and but the next day you whip out a camera and be like all like pro and whatnot, they'll be like, who's that?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're stuck in a niche on Instagram? Like it kind of sounds like you feel like not necessarily a niche, but in a production style. Because you've managed the expectations of your followers that this is the type of content that you're going to receive.
Constantly annoys me with she wants to do something different. She wants to try something different. I'm stuck in my ways. I have a lot of expensive equipment, and I put a lot of time into making a video, and then she'll make a phone video and it'll do the same. And you know, she'll do it carefully. It's not, you know, she's not just throwing it around. She's very meticulous in her job.
Right.
But it's so annoying. The time I take with my professional editing, professional video, professional lighting, I've got all this set up that we're rolling with right now. And then she'll like use her phone with a little like hand light, a little like camera thing, and it doesn't do the same. But for me, the reason I don't like that is we use our social media as a portfolio for us to get clients for content creation. We work with a lot of brands, a lot of agencies and stuff on content for them. And they don't want my phone content. They want the professional, polished content to put on their social media, to use on their website, to use in their own marketing.
Right.
So I can't market them like the casual cafe thing, which is why we do like a constant split of like 50% at least of our content is polished. It's what we do, you know, it's at home or even while we're traveling. We have to dedicate a lot of time to creating that. Versus if we go out to a bar for a drink, she can run around with her phone and just be like, this is great. The phones are amazing. I'm not discounting phone content. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It annoys me. It's so annoying.
Steph's over here like, sorry.
No, I get it. The quality is there. Like what's for me, I'm Samsung, but the one thing I can definitely sell out on is that right now our iPhone has a better video camera. Another thing that annoys me, but the quality is just as good as most professional DSLRs out there.
So this conversation can go in several different ways at this point. I'm like, which path do we want to go down? I think to me, I want to talk about usage, because when you're thinking about maybe more slickly produced content, there's, in my experience, a higher propensity that a brand's going to want to pay for usage and take that piece of content and repurpose it on their own channels to then use as an ad. But I'm curious because, Steph, I don't manage you. You shoot on your phone. Do you find that brands are still asking for usage from you to use your content in ads?
Probably not as much as you. I feel like they probably just want to use my platform. They want me to post with their product and show my audience, and that's pretty much.
Are they whitelisting it a lot? Do you know if they're doing the back-end marketing?
I do get some whitelisting.
That's similar to like
I do, but probably not as much as you do.
Okay.
I think they just want to use my platform and have
the organic reach.
Yeah.
So I think I would anticipate that answer, but at the same time, I think brands might benefit from not being so polished.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, more
especially on TikTok though.
Approachability
Especially
is
TikTok.
huge right now with brand marketing.
Like TikTok, even if you like look at comments and stuff about like if you see an ad on TikTok, it looks too like advertisement.
Yeah,
people just scroll past.
You're scrolling through people's casual
But
stuff,
then-
and then there's this like polished, clean thing. And you're like, okay.
But like now, more and more, like I will like watch a whole ad without realizing it's an ad because it's created by a content creator.
Yeah.
And then like even in the comments, people will have this whole discussion about saying like, "Wow, that was like so like nicely
It's
done."
subtle. It's so
Like if I knew it was an ad, I just like skip it. But like it wasn't. It was an ad, but we didn't know.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to ask, and this might be maybe a more controversial question, is if somebody is using very expensive equipment to create content, do you think they deserve to be paid more than somebody who's shooting on their phone?
Just because you pay a lot for equipment doesn't mean you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
It's not the equipment that makes it. If you're good at what you do and you choose to use equipment, it can, for instance, if you use a RED camera, anything like that, an 8K, 4K recording, you're able to pixel pinch, you're able to do whatever you want. If you're able to do that, you're able to finalize something cleaner. Phones are amazing.
We're in 4K right now, just so you guys know.
Perfect. Phones are amazing at what they do right now, but at the end of the day, I've seen creators that use phones that annoy the shit out of me. It's better than what I can do with my camera sometimes, because they're better, they're more artistic, they're more at styling, and
editing.
Well,
editing
just
comes
because
down to
I'm
a lot.
using my phone doesn't mean I have to have the perfect sunlight.
Yeah.
I have to have the perfect angles, setting up every little detail. So it might take me just as long as it might take you to set up your equipment.
It's the creator.
And you have other limitations too. You know, you were talking about when we had a conversation yesterday that there's a period of time in the early morning.
Exactly.
That is the
I
best.
shoot in my apartment.
Yep.
I only get sunlight between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. and I have a baby. So that's when he's up, having breakfast. So it's like, I don't have that much time. And it would be great to have, all the professional cameras and the lighting, because then I could shoot any time of the day. So yeah, it's hard. It can get very hard. It's hard.
On that note, I think the affordability of the professional lighting in particular, as well as the equipment, is getting so much more affordable now that for me, I fought Natalie tooth and nail for lighting. She's like, oh, natural light, you can't beat it. I'm like, yeah, you can. You use this. You're like, hey, it does the same thing, but you can literally use it at midnight. I can do content at 3 a.m. I can do it if I have a minute, if I'm like busy in the morning and I miss that 7 to 9 window and I have a job due tomorrow, I'm fucked. I'm like, I can create that light.
That's a reality.
No,
I do have a light, but for me, maybe it's not the right light, but when I use that light, I'm like, no, it just doesn't look the same.
It's not
I don't
the
like
vibe.
it. Yeah, it's not the vibe. But, I will use this if I have to.
Yeah.
Speaking of like capturing exactly what you want, all of you have the benefit, I would say for the most part, on the particular accounts that you've been speaking about, of not being on camera. And so you do kind of have that flexibility that you can be in your pajamas or just finish breastfeeding or whatever it might be and shoot. And I'm curious, do you think that then the people on camera who have that extra layer, they're acting as models and talent in a different way, do brands need to consider that differentiation at all? Or is that something that you consider when you consume other people's content who are on camera? Is that like another layer of time that you're respecting?
I think it is nice to see like a face behind the videos. Like it's nice to who's doing this account, who's making these videos. Like you want to see a face, so that is nice. And sometimes I wish I did do that, but now that I have something going and it's good, I'm just like, why change it now? But yeah,
I think not necessarily, and I think it depends on like the vibe and like the aesthetic of your page and your brand,
right?
Because I think, for example, like maybe some people show up and they talk more interactive. That's cool, but I think they give off a different, maybe it could be like educational vibe or more like just like relatability vibe. But I feel like you can still do that like off camera too, like without showing up.
What are some tactics that potentially people who are interested in becoming creators but not comfortable being on camera, how do you make it more approachable? I think
doing what I do.
I actually And I think that's like the very like TikTok style. It's like showing like different like footage, like different clips. Like this like one trick when you pick it up, there's like this angle, and then like from this side angle, there's another approach, and then like close up.
Yeah, it's
far
like TikTok
away.
people, like,
Do you know what I mean?
their attention spans aren't necessarily all there, so they want to see like fast movement, different angles. So with TikTok, that definitely helps.
And I feel like it just makes, and even using the camera, I think, because a lot of times like when you see it on film on someone's camera, that's like the same thing as seeing it on their camera. Not everyone has like a professional camera and they've never seen that lens before in that perspective. So it's actually more foreign to them compared to like your iPhone.
What do you think? I'm sure you've all experienced this where a brand has come to you with a creative brief that has required you to be on camera. Is it just an easy, hard pass, or is it a conversation that you have with them of being like, you guys know you reached out to my page, right? Like,
I've had that happen. And I was like, I only show my hands. And they're usually like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I've never really had an issue with that.
I think sometimes maybe I'm a little bit more sensitive to it because I've managed a large group of creators and I see that request at scale for creators who just don't routinely show their faces or ever show their faces.
Yeah.
To me, it's indicative of a little bit of laziness. Do you wish that there was maybe a personal layer added in there where they acknowledge that that's a direction from the brand that they've put in there, but you might not fit into that, yet they still want to work with you?
I think, as you said, is laziness. I think it's not necessarily laziness. I find that when a brand and an agency creates a brief and they want to work with you, but they've got 20 people they want to work with, they run down the list and they're like, here's like, I still get emails that say, hey, insert name. And it's like, you clear, like, A, copy and paste, but B, like,
that's an easy archive, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of emails that we get, like at least one a day, that has massive mistakes in it or is clearly copy and paste. Here it is, and I have a standardized response for those people, which is a business response. It's not a go away. I don't knock back. Like there's a lot of emails I'll read and be like, I'm not bothering to even copy and paste my response. But if I see that there is no personal connection with the outreach, I have a copy and paste like, this is how we work with people. These are our rates. Here's our media kit. And here are like the different opportunities for us to partner together. And it's a copy and paste and I send that. And I don't have to, I feel obligated to personally reply with a more personal response to people that you can tell know you and know your account and know your business. And they put effort and time into writing an email to you. It's not a batched, hey everyone, we want to work with you. It's like you just want to work with anyone.
Let's talk about some of those home run emails, so to speak, because I know there's going to be some people watching who work at other agencies where their job is solely casting campaigns for brands. How can they really move the needle with you in the subject line in the first couple of sentences? What is it that you want to see?
Can I skip back? Because I didn't respond to the person being on camera question.
Yes.
But Natalie, again, being the face of our company, the first 6 years she was doing this was hands. She had like baking pans, top and bottom, not even anything else, just hands. She didn't want to show her face. She wasn't comfortable, all of that. But she found that she was growing her audience to be more organic and engaging. And the best way to do that was for her to be on film, for people to see that it's not a repost app, because they were going crazy. Yeah. People just reposting everyone else's content, and everyone's just like, they were growing huge. Like a repost account with 300,000 followers, and it's like you literally didn't do anything. Yeah, you woke up and you were like, "What's trending today?" Know, right? Post, and it was like the differentiation between that account and ours became Natalie. Right. She, and at the beginning, and we're still doing it a lot, was IG stories. So a lot more casual of a format. You put your face on IG stories. It's a way to show that there's somebody here doing
a real
this.
Person.
It's showing.
Are you? I don't
know. The reality. It shows that.
There's a person behind these videos.
and it's a great way of introducing yourself to your audience without having to be like polished and on camera and being like, "Hey guys, look at me." It's more approachable, and it makes life so much easier for somebody that's not that comfortable with the camera. And then you're never going to be comfortable with the camera. Like Natalie hates the camera.
So we're going to come back to the email question. But before we come back to the email question, the repost account comment. I think all of you have accounts that are heavily reposted. How often are you even getting permission or asks for permission from these people?
Like 10% of the time I'll get a DM, hey, can I repost this? I'm like, sure.
You're fortunate.
Thanks for asking. That's what I say.
Do you prefer, would you want them to ask? Because there are people who are growing their own platforms and then being able to capitalize off of
and
your
using our
creativity.
content, all they're doing
Yeah.
is reposting. They're not even putting
And then
in the
they're able to
work.
sell those accounts to people who then
Exactly.
archive everything, and they've already got 300,000 followers.
Yeah.
And they haven't done it. Anyway, I hate repost apps.
Yeah.
There are some out there that do a great job with, they've grown their account, and from there they've used that to then create a business. It's a business strategy. It's marketing.
Yeah.
That's social media. If somebody saw a way to do it, it's the same as my favorite thing in the world, and you can tell I don't like it, follow and follow.
Oh,
There
I
were
like
creators at a
Are
time.
people
It
still
worked
doing that?
100%. I know one person at
Totally.
least that is.
definitely.
People are
I've-
still doing
I've
that.
had them follow
Definitely.
me in the last 2 weeks. I've had the same person follow me 6 times
Oh.
because they're unfollow. Anyway. Yes, it works. It's a
Definitely
proven
works,
way
yeah.
to
Still?
work. Yeah.
Except for us,
Statistically,
like pretty
definitely.
creators who are like, "Oh, bitch, I saw you do that 2 days ago."
Yeah.
But even then we kind of just like let it happen.
I don't have the time to follow and follow.
Yeah,
it
no
takes
time.
hours of your time. But hey, if you can do it, do it.
And you
But-
also have no time to block
sorry,
them.
that was a whole other thing that I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't even bother blocking. That's more of my time wasted on a person.
Oh,
that-
totally.
I genuinely
care
thought
about.
Instagram was suppressing that, and it's not something that you can readily do on TikTok, and so it just
Yep.
has kind of. I feel like follow and follow is such a like 2016 problem, but
Yeah.
it's
But like looking at my unfollower account, you're right. I think looking at my unfollower account, I think people have to be like actively doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you
I
can
think,
you
like,
can pay
follow and
people and
unfollow.
bots to do it
Like
for
bots,
you,
like there's so many apps that
and
do
you
that.
pay $5 and you get 1,000 followers. You know,
Yeah.
it's
that's
crazy.
that's a trend I choose
But
not
it's-
to revisit.
I don't
Yeah,
even
yeah. Feel free.
I don't really even pay attention
That's
to
one
like
thing-
followers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
Coming
don't
back
have
to
the
the-
time to
Yeah,
like look.
coming back
and-
to the marketing perspective on it, I found there was, no offense, you probably were better, a lot of PR agencies and a lot of creator designers were not doing a very good job of vetting creators. They
totally.
see somebody posting and they're getting 1,000 likes on their post, and they're like, "We want to work with you," and it's like,
Like have you
at
done your
least
research?
ask for the analytics of the post, where most of those people liking it don't exist and do not live in the audience that you're looking for.
right.
You know, it's one of those things that I do marketing in that way. I do social media marketing campaigns for clients where we reach out to influencers to work with them.
Yep.
And number one is, I love your account, I love what you do, but send me the analytics because I'm not working with you if I don't see that.
Yep. And I
And-
think that goes back to our home run email conversation. We've kind of talked about being on the receiving end of maybe some pitches that don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But to be positive for just like 2 minutes of this conversation, when is it a winner? Is it somebody who acknowledges something that you posted recently, or is that too transparent these days? Is it someone who says, I've noticed that you're incorporating a lot of this spirit into your content, and I feel like this could be a natural fit? Like what, or is it, I have a big budget and we're going to lead with that because we want to value you? And is that the conversation that is like, okay, they put $10,000 in bold, I'm going to actually stop and read this whole thing? I think both that's
something
valid.
very simple is like when they use my real name, because that means they've actually
God,
gone on
that's
my
nice.
page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they talk about a specific cocktail I made or just different spirits I've used, then I'm like, okay, they actually know what kind of content I put out. Because like I've had brands reach out, oh, I think you'd be great for this pillow. And I'm like, what? Like pillow? Like that doesn't even make sense. You obviously are this is just like a mass email that you're sending everyone. So it's nice to know like when they're actually like doing their research and looking at the kind of content I'm putting out.
And I think for me, it's more so like the actual like campaign, if they have a certain campaign in mind, like for a certain holiday. Because I think I'm not sure about you guys, but like cocktails is very seasonal, very
course.
holiday based.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like literally there's like one like national tequila day. So if you want a tequila day cocktail, you need to like tell us in advance.
Yeah.
And they plan for that day. And so are like other holidays, like especially during this winter season and even like September time. There's so many, and like I think just like given adequate time and be like kind of have some ideas or even like fall series cocktails.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they'll want to like collaborate, but sometimes I'm actually open to having some space for space for discussion.
Yeah, that's
So I think it kind of creates that attitude like where we want to like work together, then like we have work for you. If that makes sense.
I think that's one of the biggest cruxes in social media marketing is it comes late on the table for companies to reach out and plan that part of their marketing plan. I feel like we're later on in the discussion in the agency simply based on, hey, National Tequila Day is next week. We want to work with you. And I'm like, you've got to send me the product. I need to taste it. I need to agree to work with you. We need to find, we need to like negotiate budget.
Right.
We need to like create the content. You need to approve the content, which takes 5 days if you're working with a PR agency and a marketing team internationally, who you're going through 3 people
easily.
to figure out if it's approved or not. And then we need to plan the post. And it's like, I would say 40% of our content, they expect it up within 2 weeks to 3 weeks. And that's
What's the ideal timeline?
I need personally, ideal, not obviously I need, I can do 2 days.
Right.
I can make, if
Don't listen to that. We can't.
I can
do
turn
2 days.
around.
We
No.
can't do 2 days.
I can, but your budget needs to be double of what it should
Yeah.
be because I need to put everything else aside that people that thought ahead, planned ahead, got their shit together.
Yeah.
I need to say to them, hey, you need to wait 2 more days because I need to drop everything and plan this. And I need to also go to the liquor store and buy your product because you ain't shipping it to me. Anyway, ideal, I would like 4 weeks. A month would be amazing because it's going to take a week for the product to get to me. Sure, you're going to overnight it. Will it make it? I don't know. It's going to take a week. Then there's a week of, during that week, we're going to be discussing negotiating rates, etc., because you're probably never coming to me with what I want. The
I have
second
never
week,
had that experience with you, James.
second week, no, you have not. And I said that. I respect that you came to us with a rate that was very understandable. And we said, yes, especially the way that you approached it was, hey, here's not a job. Here's multiple jobs. And we do discount rates when we can work with people on long-term projects and bigger projects where you're able to get more work.
Yep.
Most jobs that we get are one-offs. Even people that say, hey, work with us on a discounted rate this time. And, we'll work with you. And it's like,
Least favorite conversation.
I fell for that once. Never again. I didn't fall for it. I was like, let's take the risk. No. I was very, anyway.
I agree.
You also have to consider other projects you're working on too.
Correct.
You can't just like drop everything you're doing and focus on this brand that just reached out to you a day ago.
Yeah. So the biggest part of it, I think, is the approvals. For us, if I'm working directly with a cognac brand, it still has to go to their head of marketing in France more often than not. They need approval from somebody internationally, and that can take 4 days. It's more often than not, they expect approvals to happen overnight, and more often than not, it takes 4 to 5 days for everybody for us to pass it to you, for you to pass it on to somebody else, who then has to have a discussion with the team, who then comes back with it. And we're very fortunate where I would say 1 in 20 projects, we have to redo a little part of it or reshoot. But most of the time it's approved the first time. But if it's not, that's another week at least.
At least.
And you have to, in your negotiation of how much time you have, that has to be allotted this second reshoot because just in case,
I want to close the conversation because I think we're on a good subject right now with one thing we can give brands and agencies as takeaways that they can approach us better as creators and be better partners with us. So give it a sip, give it a think.
So tips.
I can start with mine while you guys noodle on it because I knew this question before you did. I would say mine is come to me with a full ask. I want to know when it's happening, what exactly you want, what creative direction I should be considering, how much you're going to pay me, and any other details or considerations that are vital and important to your campaign. And I want to know when you need me to get back to you by. I think if you can be as holistic as possible when in your initial outreach, that's a home run for me. And that's because
100%.
I'm fielding so much outreach in my position. And I'm very, very thankful to do so. And I'm so glad that all of our creators have amazing inbound leads. But to me, you're going to get a faster response that way. and you're going to get
Yeah.
a probably more articulate response, and you're going to get the details back that you need to know whether I'm a great fit or the creators that we work with are a great fit for you. So that would be mine.
Yeah.
Fiona?
You highlighted so many.
Yeah,
come on, you were supposed to do
That was
one
like the
thing.
whole thing.
Yeah.
You basically had everything.
It was like one
Yeah.
thing. It's just,
Okay.
be holistic. But I
Uh-huh.
guess that's kind of cheating.
I guess, but I feel I have to add on to yours, but more so I think a time frame, like have an idea like what you're looking for, because
Right.
we like once again we do film, so all of our teams are pretty small. We are doing it ourselves. We don't have a team to outsource. So like if we ever have like 10 projects going on this month, we might not be able to take on another like one or two.
Yep.
But if they're like open, I think another thing is like the open-mindedness too. Like for
Totally.
discussion, or like do you exactly just want one that this, I don't know, national holiday, or do you want like a fall one or other things? I think it's important too, like the flexibility to change.
Steph, what about you?
I would say when a brand or an agency reaches out to me, mostly brands, they'll be like, hey, I would love to work with you. Can we set up a call so I can explain to you about our products? And I'm just like, I don't really have time for this. Can you maybe just send me an email of what your product is about, basically what you said, just getting straight to the point.
Yeah.
Because I really don't have time to go back and forth and like what you want. And then they'll be like, send me your media kit. And then the next email, what's your rate? It's just like either ask me all the questions at once or tell me what you are offering, and let's just like get straight to the point.
Yeah.
I think we can say agencies have a tendency to overcomplicate the funnel to
Yeah.
selecting who they want to cast for a
Exactly.
campaign. And at least for the three of us, we'll get to you, James. The three of
Yeah.
us is source all that information at once and kind of do all the cross-referencing that you need to do in one shot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because asking me or you to get on a 30-minute conversation when there are only so many hours in the day and we're
Yeah.
already acting as 8 different people to create the content that you need, it's kind of a big ask. And, and there comes a point where it's like, oh, you want to chat for 45 minutes? My consulting rate for an hour is $250 because you're probably going to ask me about my best practices and maybe some ideas and a few other things.
Right. And like, we don't even know if like we're working in the same like budget. Like,
Yeah.
why are we going to
Exactly.
waste our time on this call when,
Yeah.
just getting to the point of what you want from me, and also like letting me take the direction. Like, you see my style of creating. If that's not what you want, then I'm probably not the best person for the job. So if I can if you're willing to let me do what I do, then that definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, I think having a budget in mind, going back to that, just
Yeah.
re-emphasizing the having a budget.
Budget.
Like budget.
Okay, James. Bring us home.
I have so many comments,
You
but
get
I'm trying to pick the one. I know. Well, it's like there's a lot of don'ts that have come out of that. Directness, which is what you're saying, is like directness. Tell me what you want. Tell me when you need it. Tell me how you need it, and I can tell you what it's going to be. If we can do it, great. If not, let's move on with our lives because neither of us have the time. Okay, the one thing though, I kind of said it, but I'm not. That's definitely not my thing. Budget is the number one. I think we have already said it, but obviously you need to know everything about me. But if one of my hated things is the back and forth about budget. Hey, what's your budget? Hey, how much does it cost? Well, what's your budget? But how much does it cost? The conversation is so free in the creator space because even people with the same audience, the same followers, the same engagement, we can charge from $500 to $5,000. And there is no discussion between us about what our rate is. I have no idea what you're paying them to be here today. They don't know what I'm getting paid. And we don't need to discuss that because
We could.
each of us have, I'm happy to, but each of us have an amount of time we've spent building our accounts that you want to use. It's not just the hours that it takes to create the content now. It's the years that it's taken on us doing what we do to be where we are. It's the amount of expense that we've paid on the equipment that we're using. It's the team that we have, the marketing budget that we have spent in order to get you to reach out to us. It's the time and expense that it has cost for us to be where we are today. That all comes into our budget. It's our need.
Right.
You know, if your budget is low, but I only have 2 clients right now, maybe I'm going to take it. But if I'm swamped and I've got 10 projects right now and you come at me with a low budget, I'm probably going to be like, I don't have time for that.
Right.
But if you come at me with a better budget, I'm going to be like, yeah, okay, I can like make some room for that. So my budget changes per project. There's obviously a low and a high, but it does change per project. There's not a set rate. I feel like that's probably true for everybody.
I think there's always a range, but I think there's also like a minimum.
Oh, 100%. If you don't have a minimum. But yeah, I think it's one of the biggest controversies in our industry right now is there is no discussion between creators and there is no set rate. From the brand perspective, you probably know what you want. You're not a brand, but from a brand would know what they want. They look at you and they say, you're amazing. You have this amount of followers. Your engagement rate is this. I am willing to pay this. Then they're going to offer you half of that and you're going to have to negotiate. But
I agree to an extent and disagree because I actually feel like in my cocktails community, well, actually we're the same community. I guess we haven't really talked about it, but I do talk to like a lot of my like creator friends about like how much they can charge.
Yeah.
Especially when like there's one brand is asking like all like the same people all the time, and then I'll be like talking to them and they'll be like, wait, why did you just post for them? And they just ghosted me. So I was like, how much are you charging them? But I'll be very straightforward. And I'll be like, oh, like I asked for like triple that. But you have like more followers than me.
You have to know your worth.
So I think like that's very important because I'm like, I think that's a discussion among like influencers or like agencies and stuff like that too.
I think it brings up we're going to go into like an encore, a bonus.
No, we're good.
I think it brings up a really important topic of pay transparency in the industry and how agencies and brands capitalize on the fact that it's impolite to talk about how much you make. And one of the reasons why I've been so passionate about representing niche groups of creators is because they're not coming to me just one time. They're because I represent so many beverage creators, because I represent so many plant-based creators, people in these smaller categories, I kind of know what everybody's getting offered.
Yeah.
And then I can go back to those agencies and have a conversation and say, all right, I know what your budget is for door number 1, which means we now need to adhere to the same standard for doors number 1 through 7.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously an advantage to working with management and having that internal community. But I also think on the other side of it is us as creators shouldn't be afraid to like nudge the other person where it's like, hey, has that person not paid you on time yet either? Because there are campaign hashtags that we can all check to see who's working with who. And it's a small enough community that we all talk. We all talk.
100%.
And I think when it comes to talking about what we're getting paid for on projects, and if I were to wish one thing to change on our side of it is that we have more of those conversations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that would be what I'd love to leave you with. And hopefully this sparks some more conversations with not only creators, but the people on the other side of the deal as well. So cheers. Thank you very much, Jay,
Cheers,
for
y'all.
joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening.